So we talked a lot about what you did in high school, and
Uh-huh.
so now we want to kind of move on to like your college application process. And
Yeah.
like, I think um we know that you were able to get a scholarship and like
Yeah.
stuff
Okay.
like that. So,
Yeah, I want to talk about scholarships. Okay, so scholarships are wonderful, and um, one of the things that you can rely on at uni high are the counselors. Counselors will send out emails to the juniors and seniors with the various opportunities that are available around town, locally and nationally for scholarships. And so I actually applied to the PEO scholarship, and it's this female professional society that provides these star scholarships for college. It's around $2,500, and you basically the application is just like for college. Big essay, some recommendations, some activities about yourself, and I was lucky. I interviewed with a committee of three amazing women, and I'm lucky that I got it because they'll write you after the interview. They'll write like a recommendation about you. And so I'm lucky I got that. And now, do we want to talk about school specific scholarships? Yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, everything in terms of scholarships. Talk
Okay.
about anything you want.
Is it okay if I first talk about which? Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll just start. So for U of I, I'm very lucky. So when you apply to U of I, you're automatically applied to a lot of other scholarships. So I got my decision whenever in the fall, I think around November, December-ish, I got my acceptance to U of I for computer science. And then in the spring, there's a whole release of the scholarships. So I wasn't aware there's a $5,000 scholarship for Granger Engineering, but I received that. And then I had applied at U of I for the first scholarship there. So a lot of colleges have first scholarship. So with our robotics team that are affiliated. So I also got another $2,000 there. And so those are the scholarships that I got at U of I. The other place where I got a scholarship is University of Texas, UT Austin, University of Texas at Austin. And so the thing is, I actually hadn't applied to a scholarship there. So what happened is that I think it was a week before May 1st, and I decided to commit to college pretty late, around 2-3 days before May 1st. So I was just still kind of really researching my options to make sure that I will make the right choice. Because once again, you're committing yourself to a college for 4 years, and that's it's the next 4 years of your life. So I want to make sure I was making the right decision, and I got a call from a professor at UT Austin, and I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know this." And so the thing is, I had been admitted to UT Austin to the Turing Scholars Group, which is a subset of CS majors at UT Austin. And so he asked, "Do you want to know about the program? Because it's an absolutely amazing program they have there." And so I asked a lot of questions that I had for him, and I think he was looking at my application while I was talking to him, and it was really great because he answered a lot of questions about the coursework, the opportunities, my future there, the research I could get involved in. And then so I went to bed. I was actually calling, I think we were talking around like 10 p.m. actually, and the call lasted from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. I still remember this because it was crazy for me. And I just went to bed and I didn't think any of it because I was like, oh wow, now I know more about the Turing Scholars Program. I can make a more better informed decision about college. The next morning, I woke up with an email in my inbox saying, "Hey, you got a $25,000 scholarship endowment for UT Austin if you're interested, because I think you'll be a really good fit here." And I was like mind blown because that's actually around 2.5 years of tuition-free education at UT Austin in their Turing Scholar Program, which I really like because it's a very small subset. So especially for people who are interested in computer science, I think the UT Austin Turing Scholars Program is absolutely amazing because especially for the people who hate being in those huge, huge lecture halls of 600, 800 people, and people who appreciate a more individualized learning experience. Because of course I haven't been there, but from what I researched, it seems much more personalized. and there's a lot more research opportunities, and there's a lot more like mentoring going on there. And they also put you on an accelerated learning track, and they have special classes for turning scholars. So it's different than honors at U of I, in which, you know, the James Scholars at U of I, it's much more different. It's like another level. And so the thing is, it actually UT Austin after that scholarship inched its way up to number 2 on my list because just it's the cheaper option. And I really do like that personalized learning and the opportunities that were available for me there. So yeah. What else? So those are the only scholarships I have. I've applied to a lot this summer. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I get some because college is expensive. It's not cheap. So yeah, and actually that's the thing, is that I don't think a lot of people focus on that, and I understand why you wouldn't focus because you have your application process, and that's really, really important to focus on. But then there's like the whole finance level, and I feel like that really starts to kick into reality around your second semester senior year, when you really have to start weighing out the financial aid, or like the packages, the scholarships you have at certain schools, to figure out which one is, you have to weigh all those options out. So yeah. Okay, next question.
Yeah, so if you don't mind sharing, could you tell us where you apply to overall, and if you used a like standard safety target reach system?
Yeah.
And
Okay. So
yeah,
actually, so the thing is, I know Lisa would be like, "Sorry, those are not safety schools," and I agree, these are not safety schools. Because I mean, I think it depends on where you're coming from. You have to, I feel like, objectively assess yourself and figure out what's going to be your reality. But here, let me just tell you what I've applied to. So U of I, because it's next door. U Michigan. Oh, should I talk about the major? U of I, CS. U Michigan, CS. Georgia Tech, CS. UT Austin, CS. Berkeley, EECS. CalTech, CS. MIT, CS. Stanford, CS. Sorry, MIT, EECS. So those are the schools that I applied to. And results, got into every single one of them except Stanford and MIT. Also, but okay, cool.
cool. So is there any like specific process you went through to build that list? Were they just schools you had heard of and knew from like experience, or?
Yeah, so let me just talk about this. So for me, I was thinking I would like to go to, so I had my realistic number 1, which is U of I. Well, which for some is like, people wouldn't say that's U of I realistic number 1, because I actually know people who got into MIT but didn't get into U of I CS. Okay, but I know it's getting crazy competitive for U of I CS. And that's actually one thing that I want to emphasize in particular for the uni high kids, is that I know this is a school that's literally next door, right? But it's just different. So so yeah, so U of I CS. Let's see, what were we talking about, Ariane? Sorry, I keep on forgetting.
Yeah, so how you built your college list? Yeah.
Okay, so I thought, I must apply to U of I because I love it. I love the people there, and I love the professors there, and the TAs. I already have a group of friends there that I would already be graduating with, and I felt I'm still keeping up with them. I have to go to dinner with all of them before I leave for CalTech, so I'm gonna do that. UT Austin. So what I did is I tried to find a lot of CS schools that I would like to go to, that I felt were kind of the same as U of I. So I'm talking state schools or around state level schools. So I did U of I, U Michigan, UT Austin, Berkeley, Georgia Tech. So those schools I felt were very, very equivalent. Well, not equivalent per se, but kind of similar. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay, so I felt that they were all wonderful schools for the programs, and I felt like I could thrive there. And that's actually one of the particular reasons why I actually didn't apply to Carnegie Mellon University, which you'd think if you went off the rankings, you'd want to apply there, right? But I thought that school just personally was not for me. And so a lot of these schools that I chose, I have a lot of rationale behind why I applied to these schools, which is I like the Texas area. So I did a lot of research into these schools because I didn't just randomly choose them because I have cousins, I have family in Texas, so I knew it'd be near family. I liked the Turing Scholars Program too, and that's what I was applying to when I was targeting UT Austin. U Michigan, actually, there's quite a few kids from Michigan that come to U of I, and they were telling me about how good the school is there and how they wish they were going there. And I thought, oh, I hear so many great things about it. I should apply. And there's also a lot of uni high kids that go apply to Michigan. So I applied there. Um, Georgia Tech is one of those other schools that our robotics team has a big history of kids going to Georgia Tech. And so, you apply to the schools that you really hear good raving reviews about from their students. And so I applied to Georgia Tech. And I also like the Atlanta area. It's very livable. And then I applied to Berkeley because I visited there. There's a lot of uni kids who've gone to Berkeley too. So a lot of it is also like word of mouth. You look at that, you do some research, what your student life is going to be there. And so those are the schools that I thought about. And then, of course, so those are my schools. And I knew that if I'd gotten into every single one of them, like these 5, we put them on this level, I would have gone to U of I because it's just a cheaper option. Because I would be going there for nearly free. Then, above that are the 3 schools of CalTech, MIT, and Stanford. And I knew that if I'd gotten into one of those schools, I would pretty much go there. And so that's how my college list was kind of built. 5 schools that I felt were very reachable for me. And then I did some 3 schools that I just felt they're really hard to get into, and there's literally no way predicting that you can get into them or not. So I decided, I'll try for them. And luckily I got into one of them. I'm super happy about that. So yeah. Any other questions? So that's how I made my college list. A lot of research, a lot of looking geographically into the areas. I looked into like even walking trails and transportation there because for me that's also important. And yeah, take a good look at the campus map. Look at the curriculum too, because I know for some people, there's some schools have core curriculums, right? And that may or may not be for you. So I prefer you should really research these schools beforehand before applying, because otherwise you might end up wasting your time and applying to a school that you really just don't want to go to in the end. And so I would say, especially if you have a big college list which I actually had 14 schools on my list to begin with. I went through each one and I said, would I go to this school if I got in? And then the answer was no. I took it right off because I didn't want to waste my time paying for that application, by the way, because it's expensive, and having to spend my time really write and refine essays that I wanted to send these schools. Yeah. So any other questions about how I made my college list, or?
I think that just about covers it. Jonathan, if you want to look at the next question.
Okay, our next question is, what part of your application as a whole do you think was the strongest factor when being assessed as a candidate?
Okay. So to be honest, I don't know. I would say, for certain, my passion for technology and also the implementation of that technology showed. Because, I don't know, I really want to recommend this book right here, if you could pop it right here. But it's these 10 landmark cases that kind of changed, I don't know if you can put a picture there, but 10 landmark cases that kind of changed the world in terms of security. And so for me, I feel like one of the world's burning questions is, or one of the important things is, how is technology and how it's implemented in this world going to be regulated, right? Because you can already see how it infiltrates every part of our lives, right? Social media, Zoom, like collection of facial, right? Because some have the hiring, they have AI hiring software. And our world is being revolutionized by computer science and just technology. And I feel like it's really important that law catches up with the crazy pace that technology takes, right? Because we know, isn't it crazy that our parents didn't have access to computers like just easily for themselves? And now every single one of us has our own like personal computer. I mean, who knows what our children are going to have access to, right?
Yeah.
And so if technology accelerates at this fast pace, and especially nowadays we have lawmakers that cannot understand what technology is, cannot understand the implications of what we're dealing with. And so for me, that's one thing I feel very passionate about, is being very, how to say it, like be socially aware of the implications this technology will have, and to make sure we build a more diverse and connected and united society instead of using it, because it is a tool that can be used to divide and exploit divisions. And I think, like, that's the thing. Technology, and I don't know if I put this part, but like technology and the way it could be used could actually like destroy democracy. That's how I feel like. And I feel like we have to be really careful, because the thing is, it could destroy democracy, but it can also be the tool to strengthen democracy, right? Because it could be an equalizer in society, but it could also destroy and oppress people. So I feel like it's very important. Sorry. Okay, so that's what I think. Maybe that showed through my essays, but other things, I just think the passion for the technology or for computer science, for computer engineering really shone through. Like, I had research. I have a lot of hobby projects that I did talk about in my essays. It's because I've been tinkering with this stuff from like ages, since middle school. And I think my love of this stuff just really shone through my essays, hopefully. Especially because a lot of these state colleges, the first thing they ask you is, what experience do you have? Because I don't know if you guys have looked at the U of I prompts, but the prompt asks you, what have you done in this field? What is your experience in this field that you're applying to? And a lot of these colleges, they ask you about your hobby projects, what you have done to further your interest in this field you're applying to, because they want to see that you've already explored it a little bit. And that's what I think kind of showed that I have explored this stuff. This is really what I want to do. And I think, I mean, to be honest, I have zero clue what goes behind an admissions office. So yeah. And of course, like, yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay, so
what are you
just
guys wanting to discuss?
yeah, I mean, and also just to add to that, could you tell us more about your Common App essay specifically? Like, what prompt did you choose? What did you end up like focusing on? Were there any supplementals in addition to that that you thought were really interesting?
Okay, so I think a Common App essay is very like personal. So I think that's the best place to show or demonstrate who you really are as a person through whatever prompt it is. And so I did a lot of exploration about like who I am, what I want to be, the experiences I've had to make me who I am. And so that's what I wrote about, the experiences that made me who I am and what I want to be in the future. And that's what I wrote in my Common App. That's what I also wrote. I wrote like a really small supplement. It's also because I had to explain why my grades looked the way they did, because I have a lot of different institutions that I have my grades from. And so I think for some it can be very confusing, or to see AP exams, because, you know, our school does not offer AP courses. So I had to explain that in a little blurb at the bottom that I have these AP scores, but understand that it's not a mistake that there isn't a course listed on my courses. It's that our school does not offer that. So yeah, that was kind of my supplement. But really, I feel like the Common App is really a place for you to show who you are. So that's how I used it.
Great. So if you don't mind, could you also share your stats, like your grades and test scores?
Of course. So I actually took, I think, these exams only once. So I know I do recommend that you do take it twice if you feel the need to, because every person is different. So ACT, 35, breakdown, I believe 36 math, 36 science, 35 English, 33 reading. Okay. SAT math, subject test, 800. Physics, 770. The SAT physics, 770. Sorry, I'm thinking. Should I include AP exams?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So these AP exams were self-study for because our school does not offer AP classes. AP Bio, my freshman year, I have a 4. AP CS, 5. AP Calc BC, I have a 5. And those are the only 3 exams I took. Because I did find it difficult to study for other things and do everything I was doing and take some APs. So I only took 1 a year-ish. So yeah. Am I missing anything else for stats?
I think just like GPA, if you're okay with.
Oh, GPA. Okay. GPA 4.0 out of 4.0. Our school does not do any weighting. And actually, that's one thing I want to talk about, why Uni High is so amazing. No AP classes, no class rankings. I think that's the most important part about Uni High. Because at first, when I came into Uni High, I thought, oh, well, that's kind of lacking, right? Because how can colleges tell who you are or where you stand, right? But I think that's the most important thing about Uni High, is that it really leaves teachers to focus on their curriculum and gives them freedom to create amazing curriculums to teach students the way they want to teach them. And I think that's what makes Uni High great with this no AP courses, especially because, I mean, I feel like you guys have experience with AP exams, but I don't feel like they're a good reflection on learning, right? Yeah.
I would agree.
Because I feel like they're multiple choice, they're short response. I guess for some level, it is a good exam to take, but I never really found that they were, how do I say, like, that's why I didn't take that many, because I didn't really find them too interesting. I just took the ones that I felt were needed to show at least some baseline level of that I'm good at this stuff, or like that, a baseline level to demonstrate that you're good at math or something like that. Because that's the thing, is the teachers cannot really understand what Math 3 is at Uni High, right? And so that's why I took those exams, to at least have these traditional markers to show where I am in my progression. But other than that, I didn't really want to do a lot of exams because I felt like they weren't really challenging, or like the material you're learning isn't, I just scratched that, but do you guys understand my feeling about the AP?
Yeah, I understand that. It's not really an accurate representation of your like ability to learn.
Exactly. There you go. That's a perfect, use that clip. The AP exam is not a really accurate way to demonstrate your learning capabilities. And that's why I never, so wait, one second. What other exams that I should have? Yeah, that's around it. Do you want to talk about extracurriculars?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Extracurriculars, boop, boop, boop.
Mm-hmm.
Like math club, investment club, robotics, research, hobby projects. That's kind of my main list of extracurriculars right there. And of course basketball, but if we put sports on this other side, I did basketball here, swimming, tennis, Golf.
Yeah, so I also agree with your views about uni and how like not having ranks and stuff. It really led to the more of a collaborative than a competitive nature, which is something that high schools don't have enough of, because you always see people kind of grasping for spots, whether it's college admissions or like leadership. And uni, I think, still has that, but it's really, really toned down compared to what you would find at like a public high school.
Yes, exactly. Because that's also what drove me to really want to go to CalTech, is that it's this collaborative learning environment, because it's a place where, or at least from what I hear, that you kind of sink if you're kind of by yourself, and you really have to just learn to work with others and just soldier on together. And that's what I felt that uni high was, is that it's like camaraderie. You're with your friends and you're going through this journey together. And I felt it was a very positive learning experience. There really weren't many negatives at all. So, but then again, my friends think I'm a little bit too optimistic about uni.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
anything else?
I think I guess we can start to finish it off with like,
Yeah.
do you have any advice, like pieces of advice for people applying to college, and just anything else you think we missed?
Yeah, I mean, first, start your essays early. One of my biggest regrets is that also don't write the essay that for the school that you really, really want to go to first, because that's actually the mistake I made. There was a school that I really, really wanted to go to, and I wrote the essays first. I'm looking back at the essay now because I looked over them before this interview just to make sure I had them down. I was like, whoa, that is the cringiest essay I've ever written. So I highly recommend that you brainstorm. You start in the summer and you have a good idea. Because what happens is that while you write these applications, they get better and better. They really do. And sometimes some prompts will just trigger this natural reaction. I mean, my CalTech application, I think I wrote it in 2.5 hours. It was just magical. I just sat down and just wrote the whole thing because the prompts really just triggered these feelings or these reactions that I had. I was like, oh, I know what to write here. Or because there's some applications that you'll just really click with. And for me, I really actually clicked the CalTech application. I will say by far that was my best application I wrote throughout the whole college application process. And I really highly suggest that you sit down and you write your first draft. Like, don't take a break. Just write the whole draft down the first time. Because then you can because the thing is, let's say you write a paragraph, right? And then you go take a break, you've lost some of those like trail of thought, and it will truly become 2 paragraphs from different sittings that you wrote. So I highly suggest you write everything straight in one sitting, and then you come back, and if you want to throw the whole thing out, go ahead. But at least write it down, your first initial reaction to the prompt. And that's another thing I suggest, is that there's like 2 methods you can go around it, is that you can read a prompt and do some brainstorming. But I really just suggest that as soon as you read the prompt, you actually write something down right away, because you'll have these initial reactions or ideas to answer the prompt. And you should really try to capture those on your Google Doc or on a sheet of paper before you move on. Because sometimes that's where the best ideas are. Or sometimes when you read a magazine or something, there's just something that will pop out to you. Like, oh, this is a really cool idea. Or this is a cool, I don't know. It's just like, read books. That's what I say. That when you read books, your level of writing just gets better. And I think I really found a lot of inspiration from, I don't know, you just get inspired. Just read magazines or something, and then some authors, the way they stylistically write, or the way the ideas flow, it's very interesting. So yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for this as a whole. The interview went really well. I'm happy we could talk to you.
Yeah.
And I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys can always ask me anything. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think you can, yeah, I mean, I guess you can ask me about like interviews or something like that when you go do college interviews and whatnot.
Oh yeah, so I guess how many?
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I only had one college interview, and I really highly suggest you interview Christine, especially because she has really good medical school perspective. I believe the med school she got into, the acceptance rate is less than 1%.
Oh, did she get into like a dual degree thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Those are very, very competitive.
Yeah.
She is really, really good. So I highly suggest, because going to med school is a completely different application process. And I feel like a lot of kids need to be aware of that, because I went the very traditional route, apply to college, have interview, etc. Right? But Christine had to fly out for in-person interviews with different committees and stuff like that. So I highly suggest you ask her all that stuff. So back to what I was saying is, for interviews, I would highly look up questions people ask at those interviews. Just Google and at least have a good idea of what you want to respond. And then go there. It's a conversation too. A lot of these interviews, it's not meant to really grill you. It's a place for you to show who you are as a person. They're trying to put a face to that sheet of paper. And I think that's what you should do in an interview. You're not there to be like, voila, here is my resume once again. The thing is, the college already has your resume. So talk about some other aspects about yourself. You can mention those things on your resume, and if your interviewer is interested in wanting to talk about that stuff, of course, go talk about it. But also show a different side of yourself that's really interesting or fascinating for these interviewers to get to know, right? Because one thing that people don't know about me, I guess, is that there's 5 languages, right? Arabic, Korean, English, French, and then I did Latin at school.
Oh, it's crazy.
Right. And the thing is, people don't really understand also to talk about, to give a bigger context to your Common App essay too, right? Because the Common App essay for me was about who I am and what I want to be, right? So I wanted to focus on that too, because you can only write so much in 650 words, right? So give it a larger context. Tell them about what are your experiences growing up? What is your vision of the future? Because that's one thing that colleges, I feel like, don't ask you about, is what do you see the future of this world, right? Because I feel like we're 18, or in your case, 17 or 16. The world is we're too young to settle for certain things. I still feel like at this stage, we have to think we can change this world. And the thing is, that's the thing. We're the generation that can change this world. And I feel like colleges should ask you, what do you want to do to make a really huge impact on this world? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Great. And just to clarify, what school did you get the interview for?
Oh, that interview, that was for MIT.
That's for MIT.
He's a really cool interviewer. So, yeah.
Great.
And then CalTech doesn't do any interviews. Stanford, I believe, only chooses, you rarely get interviews, but I believe in our class, there's only 2 interviews that happen. So, yeah. And I think those are randomly selected. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
I would just say it depends on what major you're applying to. If you're talking med school, you'll get an interview for every place where they advance you to another round. Or if you're doing some art portfolio or something like that. But yeah, I think you guys would do well if you interviewed Christine, or interviewed people who are going to there's lots of kids in our class going Northwestern.
Oh, really? I know there's Jenna.
Jenna. There's also, I believe, Alicia. I may be wrong. And then to ask different. So sorry. Now I'm just giving you ideas about who else. Christine, Jenna Lee is very interesting. I would ask people who have arts portfolio or something like that, because there's a huge majority of kids in our class that go into engineering, right?
Yeah.
But there's kids who also go through more specific type of application process that I feel like people don't talk about really online or anything, because there's just not many of them, and also the personality type is not very let's go talk about it online, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for that. We were definitely planning on interviewing Christine, and we'll get in touch with some other people from your class.
Yeah. Oh, ask Kevin. He's going to Duke.
Kevin? Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is, I didn't apply to any Ivies personally, because I felt that for engineering, I'm not going to Ivy. So I felt if you want you should probably ask Kevin or some other people about applying to Ivies, because I believe it's like a whole nother experience. Because my cousin went to an Ivy, and it's just a completely different experience. Yeah. Okay. Don't want to keep you guys too long. Anything else?
I think that's everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
for coming.
you.
See ya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.